desperate fighting program amongst high school students.
May the manliest of all men come on down!
Nobody touches his precious Nanako, the sister complex kingpin of steel, Yu Narukami!
It's only natural.
Wage slave in the boonies by day, hero by night, Captain Resentiment, Yosuke Hanamura!
Everything that bores me has got to go.
Hey, Kevin. I got a question for you.
All right.
Do you like JRPGs?
Yeah, they're all right, sure.
Do you like fighting games?
Of course. Who doesn't?
Do you like reading page after page after page of screens worth of text?
That's a trick question, but I'm going to go no. Not
Okay.
really.
Well, then this game isn't for you, because you need to love all three of those things to love Persona 4 Arena.
I heard it was a fighting game. I'm not sure how pages of text have anything to do with a fighting game, but I'm going to get into that.
Let me tell you, my friend. So we're talking today about Persona 4 Arena, which is the... Oh, Atlas, you're just killing me with this shit, man. All right, so Persona 4, I love Persona 4. I was never able to beat it because I never had the time to get all the way to the end. I got about 2/3 of the way through. And so that was on the PlayStation 2. It was a late PlayStation 2 game. It was a JRPG where you fight monsters at night. You go to high school during the day. It had this big social aspect to it. It was a cool game, provided that you're not Jason and you don't hate that shit. But so I played Persona 4, and then the new generations of game consoles came out. It's PlayStation 3. Holy shit, it's new PlayStation. When are they going to announce a new Persona game?
Right, sure.
Then the team that made Persona went and made Catherine.
Oh, no kidding. Wow,
not a bad game. I'm not, don't want to knock on Catherine. I actually like Catherine a lot more than your average man on the street, but it was kind of like, oh, why are you guys doing this when you should totally be making another Persona game for next-gen systems? It could be even bigger. So then I saw a listing somewhere when I was looking around one day, Persona 4 Arena in Mayonaka, which has since been shortened to just be Persona 4 Arena, because anybody in the United States who looked at that would be like, what the fuck is a Mayonaka? I don't fucking know. So this is essentially an offshoot of Persona 4 and Persona 3, made by Arc System Works, the guys who made BlazBlue and Guilty Gear. And It is the strangest game that I've played this year so far.
Get out. Really?
Well,
come on.
Oh, come on. El Shaddai was last year, right?
I guess.
That came out last year. At least I think it did. But yeah, this is a truly and utterly bizarre title. Because, okay, this game, I'm trying to think of where to start. Let's start with the biggest thing that's weird about this game, is there's a mode in this game called Story Mode. Okay?
Yeah.
And Story Mode lets you pick one of... First of all, the character roster in this game is weird, because it's like half Persona 4 characters, and there's 4 Persona... Was it 3 Persona 3 characters, and 1 brand new character that was made up for this game. So you go into the Story Mode, you've got access to like the main Persona 4 characters, and you pick one of them. And you get this... It's essentially a novel. I wouldn't even say it's an interactive novel. It's just fucking straight up, it's like a radio play. Is what you've got is this long, drawn-out story about the protagonist for Persona 4 who's coming back to Inaba, the town that Persona 4 takes place in, during a break to see all his friends that had these adventures, and then suddenly there's a new adventure, and yada, yada, yada. But the format of this, and if we didn't show it in the happy hour that we did because, to be honest, it would have been boring. But the format of this is you have the kind of traditional JRPG. There's like an anime portrait on the left side, an anime portrait on the right side, and there's some spoken word dialogue, and then at the bottom there's a text box filling up with what they're saying. And they go, yep, 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 yep.
I mean, is it just a bunch of gibberish? Is it just garbage? I mean, do you care about it when you're reading it? Are you like into the characters? Are you like, oh, I recognize this from Persona 4. It's part of the lore of the Persona universe, or is any of that going on?
If you're a fan of those games, absolutely.
Okay.
Because a lot of this is like really it's just really dry. Not dry. It's very specific character development. So like a character will talk for a little while and then it will cut over to a part where they're not even talking and the screen is just filling up with text that is describing what they're thinking while they're having this conversation with the other person on the screen. And this shit, I mean, okay.
This is crazy for a fighting game. Are they looking for a limited market with this? Because, I mean, already, just you telling me that it's a fighting game with Persona characters, I'm already thinking I have no interest in playing it.
Well, okay, stay with me. Hang in there, because this is just one part, but this is by far the longest like single feature in the game, because each one of these stories, it's like you play it. And then it comes to a cliffhanger, and it opens up new characters. And then you play the story again with those characters, and then that gets to a cliffhanger, and then that opens up a few more stories. Then you can play that, and then you can go back to the original characters, and you can play to get all the way to the end of this giant story to basically introduce this adventure and this new character. It's even got a cliffhanger, but it all hinges on your desire to see more of what's happening with the Persona 3 and 4 characters. Like,
all right. Well, that sounds kind of cool if you're into the characters.
Yeah.
Gives you a lot of replay value there.
And just the main characters, people at home. Like, if you were a big fan of the Fox in the Temple or some of the crazy high school students or that dude that runs the weapon shop in Persona 4, none of them. Just the main characters. And the thing is that every so often the story will come to a beat where you need to bust your dude out and have a one-round fight. And then when you get done with that fight, then it goes back into another 30, 40, 50, hours worth of story. So there is that. And I know that may turn off. I think that mode is in the game for people who are big RPG fans in Persona 4 who may just want to check this out to see what happens with the story or not. Maybe not into fighting games, because the fights in that seem really, really easy and it's very liberal, kind of giving you chance after chance. So I don't know. I'm confused, Kevin. I play this game and I'm like, well, I kind of like this, but that's a really specifically weird demographic of RPG fans who want to play a fighting game.
Based on the Persona universe. But and speaking of that, now, doesn't that have something to do where you have like a ghost or something? I never played the games, but don't you have like, isn't there some alternate reality, something or other in the Persona universe or something like that where you're, I remember seeing this thing where you shoot yourself in the head to go to some other world or something. Is that in this game?
Sort of. That's Persona 3. And in Persona 3, they had these little spirit guns that you'd shoot yourself in the head to release your persona that would go and fight for you. In the fourth game, you could basically just summon this ghostly. It's basically. It's so complicated, Kevin. There's somebody grabs you and they put you in the TV. And when you're in the TV, you create the shadow world. The shadow world is run by a dark version of yourself, and you eventually have to confront it. And if you deny that dark version of your own personality, it turns into a giant monster that will try to kill you. But if
you in the TV, I mean, that's something I would have thought of when I was like 7 or something.
No, the whole dark world happens like in the TV. And then if you beat your persona and you accept those bad parts of your soul, then it becomes like this thing that can fight for you. It sounds like the ravings of a madman when you say it out loud, but I swear to God, you play the game, it totally makes sense.
It makes sense. But so you have a persona in the game. So do you have one in this game? I mean,
yes.
Obviously it's called Persona, right? So I mean, you have one, or you are one. I'm just confused by what the hell a persona is. I think somebody buying this needs to understand like what that even means.
It's essentially like the easiest way to sum it up in game terms is it's like a summon, like from Final Fantasy.
Okay.
Like you're in the middle of battle. Like all these characters have a way they fight, like either hand to hand or with a sword or with their feet or with a whatever. But then they also have these spirits that they could kind of pull out to do special attacks and cast magical spells and do that sort of thing, which factors into the fighting. Because the thing is that if you can get past what I was just saying, if there's even a shred of interest left in your mind, there is a fascinating fighting system in this game. Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Because
what you said didn't even sound really all that bad, so this is I'm getting to like this more and more. Okay.
Well, the thing is that the way they've set it up is, you're you've got 4 buttons. You've got a light attack and a heavy attack, and your character will do the light attack and heavy attack. But then you've also got a light attack and a heavy attack for your persona. So your character, you hit the button, and like say you're using the generic Ryu of this game has a sword. So he's got a light sword attack and a heavy sword attack, but then he's got this persona that's this big ninja-looking dude that he could, if you hit the top buttons, that guy will come out and do special moves. So you can actually, when you go through the training in the game, you can actually coordinate attacks where you start an attack with your persona, and then while it's messing up the other person, you run your character over, and you're both attacking at the same time. And you can do these like combination special moves, and there's all, like, I swear to God, every single button on the controller, like if you hit 2 buttons, it does a different thing. Like it either dashes or cancels or, does something crazy. It'll do this little thing where you go and you Looney Tunes smoke comes up and you pow pow bang, and then the guy flies out of it.
Do you move your persona, or do you use like one analog stick move you and the other one moves your persona around or something? I mean, it sounds a little complicated.
Well, the thing is that it's like you think of your persona like you do these moves where you'll hit a button, like for the main guy that I was just talking about, you can hit a button and your persona will pop out and then run across the screen and hit the character with his weapon. So if you hit that button, but then while he's running, if you run over there as well, you can both hit them at the same time, and you can juggle and cancel and do more special attacks and stuff. But the most interesting thing about this is that I think that, people listening to this may think Arc System Works, Guilty Gear, I played that very fast technical game. Persona, there's very dense stuff in here. This seems like it could be inaccessible. But the thing that Arc System Works has done, which I think is just brilliant, is that they've given you these tiers that you can fight on. So if you just run up to somebody and jam on the same light attack button over and over again, you will do this hellacious combo that does a whole bunch of damage. Not as much damage as if you actually learn how to use the system, but if you just jam on this one button, it'll do this crazy combo. The screen fills up with fire, your persona comes out, everything's exploding, blah, and you could just do that over and over again if you don't know much about fighting games.
So it's a game for kindergartners, is what you're telling me now. That anybody can play, just slam it on the buttons. Don't even have to look at what you're doing.
No, you can play like that. But if you try to go online and play like that, you will...
so there's online play is what you're saying.
Yes. If you try to play against another person, like you can totally mess the computer up with a lot of these canned combos and kind of canned special moves. You just hit one button and get different interesting things to happen. But if you go online, oh boy... Man, I've watched some of the people that are really good at this game, and this, there were times when I was able to spam. I went to the Jason Murphy School of Processed Ham Meats, and so just hit the same projectile over and over again, and people would fall prey to that. But on the other hand, if you ran into somebody who knew what the hell they were doing, the game is fast enough that you could really take a pounding. You could really get beat, and you could be beat bad and quickly too. So,
that sounds fun.
Yeah,
sounds like it's really fun.
Well, okay. So here's the rundown. You got the story mode that we went over. You've got a regular arcade mode, which functions a lot more like your traditional Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat arcade, where you just go in 3 rounds. Best of 3 wins. There's a little bit of story stuff. There's a few cutscenes that are kind of shared between the different characters, a little bit of dialogue. You could go through that whole thing in maybe 20 or 30 minutes. It's not a big deal per character. Then there's an online play that you could do ranked modes, and it's got actually a really nice system where every time, like when you lose, you get a few of these kind of experience points, but when you win, you get a lot of points, and those points go towards this essentially grading. So you start out at an F- grade, and as you get points from winning matches, you will go up, and the game tries to match you with people who are in that same grade category as you. So if you're not winning, you're not going to be, somebody who's a freaking Grandmaster S-rank champion of the world is not going to get paired up with you if you're an F-. It's just not going to happen. So that gives you a great way to kind of stay within your within your bounds, and to keep, you kind of chisel away at one rank until you manage to get enough wins in to rank up. And it's a decent way of doing things. And then there's also replay theater. I mean, there's all the normal stuff you'd expect.
Is there a lot of people online to play against? I mean, is it pretty packed at this point? I mean, what are we talking about?
Not
five people online. That's it, or
I don't really know. I went on when I played online. I was just kind of letting the computer rank me up with or match me up with people, and I got into one position where I ended up fighting the same guy like 4 times in a row, and it might have just been because the game's been out for a week and everybody else who's good has progressed and everybody else who is not good has stopped playing, and
that could, or you could be the only 2 people that own the game.
That's right. It could be. I have some evidence. There's some replays out there from other people, so I think it could be the wasteland of the internet, and only man versus man who will survive. So yeah, that's it definitely. And there have been some complaints. I got this on the 360. Which was stupid because I forgot how bad the 360 controller is for fighting games. But there's been some people online grousing about the netcode for the 360. I didn't think it was terrible. I mean, I've got a pretty decent connection. I had a few matches where things would just slow way down in the middle of the match while the system tried to kind of overcompensate for lag or people's connections dropping or things like that.
Sure, right. Yeah.
But more times than not, I was able to just play a smooth match.
Yeah, I don't. Gee, welcome to the internet. You're playing an action game on the internet. No kidding. There's going to be some connectivity problems. I mean,
well, it's kind of the sort of thing that I don't know. I've kind of 2 minds. Like I can understand why, with the way the internet works, I understand why there's a potential for slowdown and issues. On the other hand, it's fucking 2012. Like, we figured out how to play Street Fighter online without any lag yet. Come on. Seriously, I should be able to play that shit with like a 9600 baud modem, and it should be fine. So, other than that, I don't really know how much. Let's see. There's a score attack mode where you can essentially just grades you on how good you are. There's a practice mode. There's actually a pretty decent tutorial. It's like a 63 lesson tutorial. There's a bunch of challenges to
63 lesson tutorial. Do I got to sit through that before I can play the game?
Oh, absolutely not. No, not even a little bit.
All right,
and
sounded horrible.
Keep in mind, it's 60. Like one lesson was like, hit the button towards the person to move towards them, and do that 3 times. Bing. All right. Lesson number 2: jumping. It wasn't exactly like it wasn't like Gran Turismo making me take a license test before I could start going online or anything.
Yeah. That would blow. No, yeah, little horror story there for a minute. I was thinking I would just have to like completely like learn every finessed thing before I could graduate and actually play the game. That would totally suck. So, did you manage to get through the whole story mode and everything? Did you?
I got through
big ending and
no, not at all. I got through a lot of it. What the interesting thing, and I'm going to just say this right now. This is a very, 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 very inconsequential light and doesn't really have anything to do with the game spoiler.
Well,
but
then bring it on, Jeff. Let's talk about it.
So if you don't want to hear it, skip ahead a couple minutes. But they've done an interesting thing here where they seem like they're using this game as a way to bring Persona 3, like as a way to canonize the fact that the Persona 3 and Persona 4 games take place in the same world and to introduce the characters from those games to each other. Which has some really interesting implications in the future if that's where they're going with it. But the game, I mean, I played a lot of it, and I don't know if I just haven't S-ranked everything and unlocked the true ending, but the way that it ended for me was kind of on a cliffhanger, as like everything's resolved, but there's something else going on, and we may make another one of these or whatever.
Maybe when you beat the entire thing, it unlocks Persona 5.
Don't say that, Kevin.
That's my internal 5th grader talking right now.
No, I've got other games to play. I can't spend the next 6 months playing this. I gotta go to the internet now and make sure that that's not the case. I'm gonna be sitting here scratching my face like a junkie. No, that's not right. It can't be in there. No, there's no way.
It'll be keeping you up late at night. I wonder if it really is.
No, there's no way. There's no way. There was no Shang Long. There can't be Persona 5 on this disc. No, it had to be like 4 discs. Xbox 3. No. So yeah, it's It's a very good game, and when I played it, I had a lot of fun with it. I think it's a fighting game. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be going like Evo or anything, but I think that it's a fighting game, and I think that a lot like Street Fighter Cross Tekken was, that the addition of those kind of beginner systems to the game where you don't have to be super skilled in order to make a little progress and feel like you're doing something awesome, means that if you have any interest in this game, it's probably going to be worth your time.
Yeah, but would you say, before you drop your final rating on it, would you say that it's worth somebody's time if they never played Persona?
It depends. Like, okay, the BlazBlue and Guilty Gear games have like a mythology to them that, like, when I first went into those games, I didn't have any idea like who these characters were, what they were doing, what their motivations were. It was just a bunch of crazy people. Now, if you are more than willing to go into a fighting game and you're just like, and here's a bunch of crazy people, and I don't know any of them, and I don't care about any of them,
and you got to read their whole backstory for 10 minutes or whatever.
You don't have to. Like, you don't have to ever play the story mode. You could just play arcade and online, you'd be just fine. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I would say that anybody who's not a fan of Persona that is interested in this game to just take a good hard look at what it is you're getting into, because if kind of cheesy anime dialogue will turn you off, or people talking about I'll do my best for everybody, ooh, the power of the future, hooray, well, we're friends for life, yada yada, like if that kind of stuff turns you off, don't get anywhere near this game. You don't want any part of this shit. But if you're just looking for a new fighting game, you're like, hey, I did Street Fighter Cross Tekken, I'm looking for new craziness. The only thing that might keep your traditional fighting game fan from picking this up might be that there's not a hell of a lot of characters in this game.
Okay, sure.
There's only, let's see, Yosuke Chie, meet character. There's only about 8, and that can't be right? It's got to be more than that.
Let's see,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Does M. Bizin show up?
No.
Zangief make a guest appearance?
10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Blanca?
Yes, Blanca is totally in there. Yes, Kevin, Blanca is totally in this game. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11 total characters in the game. Which, a lot of fighting games these days, you bring up the character select screen and it's like, you have to scroll through 3 screens to find all the people. And there were a lot of characters in Persona they could have dragged in here. It's just some of the monsters they would have had to make them fight like differently. But so if you're looking for a gajillion characters, no, this isn't for you. But I'd say at this point, the people listening to this, you kind of made your decision based on what I've said about this. The fighting is solid. The story is very faithful to Persona 3 and 4. The characters, as they are portrayed in a similar way as they are, and then it's got a fighting system that's fun to pick up. So I would give it a full price as long as you know what you're getting into.
There you go. Cool. Awesome.
I had a lot.
And if you don't, or maybe rent it or something.
Yeah, maybe just take a look. I mean, you should be able to look at the fighting in this and know whether or not you're going to be into it at this point. There have been enough fighting games out there. This isn't Street Fighter, it isn't Mortal Kombat. It's BlazBlue, Guilty Gear style fighting. Fast, frenetic. You know what I'd actually say? I'd say people who are big fans of Marvel vs. Capcom, they might want to check this out. There's a lot of really fast combos, and screen lights up with all kinds of crazy lights and shit, and you got multiple characters supporting each other. So you know what? This may be great for those guys.
And just think, if you really like it, there's 4 RPGs for you to play the history of.
You don't want any part of that. You don't want any part of that. You know what? Those things will kill your life. Like, they're 60 hours apiece.
Wow. Are they really? Oh, my God.
Yeah. I played Persona 4 for like 30 hours, and by all accounts, I was a little over halfway through it.
Survive towards the one throne waiting at the end! The P1 Grand Prix, where fierce fights will be fought! The battle begins tonight!